Okay, so let's talk about reunions. Now, here's the thing about reunions. When I do Difficult Podcasters with my wonderful co-host Kelly, it's always this very interesting thing because she's the type that wants to revisit every memory. Like, in fact, I think one time she said she stays in touch with everybody. Not everybody, but a lot of people she went to high school with, or college, or first jobs. Everyone she's dated, she's like seems to have some type of connection to. And I know we're talking about reunions, but it's just the sheer concept of going back and being too much back in the day. So it's really funny because we're thinking about reunions, and at first, comparatively, me versus her, she's more of a reunion. Yes, I want to reconnect. And while I don't think I had a bad time back in the day, I love life as you get older. You just go on and you kind of recreate yourself. You know what I mean? I don't like to be stuck in the back in the day. My co-host Kelly likes to be stuck in the back in the day. But I gotta tell you, and you will find out more from difficultpodcasters.com. That's the site. So of course, stay on it and find out all of our episodes because there's a lot of them. That I went to a reunion that Kelly went to. And it was fun. I don't need to spare you with all the details, but it was just so crazy because I now want to say that my co-host somewhat, by way of her excitement, showcased to me that reunions can be fun. Again, it's not something I typically enjoy, and I'm going to tell you why too. I'm going to wrap this up and I'm going to tell you why. The thing about reunions which made it sort of diluted is that when you were growing up, our era, my age group, I was born in the 80s, went to high school in the late 90s, there was a concept of if once you finished a thing, high school, college, first jobs, or whatever the case, you kind of did bask in a reunion because you were never going to really see the people ever again. But with social media, you got to see, you're always connecting all the time. Like, you don't really need the whole like, hey, what have you been up to for 20 years? It's like, I've seen it on your Facebook feed. In theory, you know what I mean? But yeah, it kind of takes away from the concept of like, hey, we're all getting together, we're going to hang out again. And listen, hanging out with the old crew is never a bad thing. I'm just saying in the comparison to me versus my co-host, Kelly of Difficult Podcasters, like she really loves everything about it. And it's just like, for me, I just really sometimes want to make sure that like when you do get back together with the old crew, that sometimes like you just don't want to be in the space that you once were. You want to like kind of be evolved. So for me, it's just about an idea of reunions. Should be fun, could be fun, and usually are fun. But I don't like have as much natural excitement for it as my co-host does. And so like the experience that we got to go to a reunion and see people from 20 years ago was actually the coolest thing ever. And the thing about it, this applies to any kind of reunion, school reunion, work reunion, giant family reunions. They can be overwhelming, but I think the moral is to just show up, because you're not going to exactly get what you want out of everybody because time has changed. People have changed. You have changed. But I think it's funny because I was recently working on a project where I happened to see one friend from this group. This particular person didn't show up to the reunion, but I had seen this person from that same group who I had not seen in like 16 years, 17 years. And it was one of those things where like the people that I still talk to all the time, I still talk to all the time. But this particular person I don't talk to all the time, but there was nothing but, there's no love lost, And when I'd seen this particular person at a work thing, all I can remember saying is like, this isn't even the closest person within that big group, but it was somebody that like, when you end up seeing somebody that you connected with 20 years ago, 16 years ago, you start to just have a sense of pride for them because it's like they're still showing up, and even for yourself, I just really can't explain it. It's kind of like this whole thing. I don't want to be too, yes, reunions are fun and it's nice to connect. I don't really want to do all that because I think they're okay. And I think they are excited. I'm a very emotional person, so it's actually odd that I don't like reunions as much as Kelly does. But the point is, I just really feel like sometimes they could be overwhelming and a little bit vulnerable, taking you back to that era of a time and all that kind of stuff. And I do give a big kudos and hats off to everybody that does show up, because it's just so easy to be like, nah, I don't really want to go. And, I don't want to see. It's easier to not want to put yourself in the 22-year-old version of yourself. Now you're in your 40s or whatever. And so I just think it was the coolest thing, and a big light bulb moment of like, oh, you know what? Reunions can be fun, funner than expected. And again, like I said, my point that I made is very much valid, because in the older times, we grew up and graduated high school in the late 90s and college and early workforce or whatever. In that time, once you didn't continue on working with somebody, or whatever the reunion aspect is, you weren't ever going to really run into them as much. But everyone has like a Facebook, and so you're always kind of up in the business and knowing of what's up anyway. So it really does take away from the excitement of a reunion. I don't know. Reunions are obviously vulnerable, because I just said a couple thoughts there, and I don't know where you stand with reunions. If you love them no matter what, you're like, I can't wait for the next big family reunion. Do people change on you? Have you changed? Or just in general, do you love them? That is the question about reunions.